Penis, 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 vagina, vagina, vagina. Do I have your attention yet? How many of you remember that from Kindergarten Cop, 1990 Arnold movie, classic? I was 10 years old. Obviously, it made an impression. Today, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about private parts and what we are doing to train our children, and I said train, to train our children about their body and their private parts. Today we're going to talk about the 4 steps that we're using here in our household, learning about the private parts and that type of thing. So step number 1 is the principle of first mention. Step number 2 is picking a strategy. How does my kid learn best? And then kind of sticking with that strategy. The third is implementation. How are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? And then the 4th one is practicing and what that looks like for us. The first step is the principle of first mention. And that's just exactly as it sounds. And that is that I want to be the first person in my child's life who talks to her about certain things. It's the stuff that nobody really wants to talk about really at all, like sex and drugs and rock and roll. No, I'm kidding. You know, private parts and those types of things. So principle of first mention just is that I want to be the first one that my child is hearing these things from, because there's going to be plenty of time for my daughter to hear about all this stuff from her friends' older siblings, or, you know, seeing this stuff in magazines, which is horrible. So I want her to have a really good established viewpoint about things like private parts and what constitute private parts and what's acceptable. Those are things that I want to teach her, not someone else. The second step is choosing a strategy that you feel like is going to work best for you, and also how does your child learn best. What we decided, and it seems like for us anyways, it seems like the most obvious choice. What we decided to do is we wanted to pick some books. Now we're going to have each of these listed below in the description with links on how to get your hands on them if you want them. You can also just do a Google search on teaching, because this is a pretty big topic. So there's a lot of stuff out there, but these are the books that we have chosen, mostly because our daughter responds really well to books with pictures and things that are interactive for her. So the first book is called I Said No. The second book is called Your Body Belongs to You. And the third book, the lines are a little blurred on this. The third book is about private parts, but it's also the first step in teaching your child about healthy sexuality. So I won't really talk very much about the book, but it is something that we've started reading to our older daughter, and it's called The Story of Me. So for the purposes of this video, though, I'm going to mostly be focusing on the books that directly work with private parts and no touchy. So those will be listed down below in the links. So we picked those books because there's pretty pictures on the inside. There's a really great part in the I Said No book where you see in this picture how he's holding up a red flag. That's part of the book. And so there's a really great part in here that my older daughter just really enjoys whenever we read the book. We always ask her, okay, well, honey, what would you do if someone says, hey, I want you to touch my privates? She sits up and she gets this very serious look on her face, and she says, I said no, and I put up a red flag, and she's, very, So she likes to be able to participate because we've actually told her that she can yell. We say, okay, say in your best, serious, loud voice, and she's got it. But she likes that because, she's not allowed to yell in the house, except for when we read this book. So anyway, we chose that route because we know she responds well to this type of thing. It doesn't have to be books. It might be that you feel like your child is going to respond better to just sitting down and having a conversation with you, or with you and your spouse. You know your kid best. And what works for us is the books. Because we started probably around, we started doing this, being intentional, probably around the time of maybe about 3 or so. Before that, of course, we talked a little bit about it, but not with as much intentionality, I suppose. The third step is implementation, and that really just looks like when's the best time for you and your family, or you and your child, when do you feel like you're going to have your child's attention? When will they be in a receptive place to listen? And for us, that's usually right before bed. My husband and I both take turns reading to her and talking to her and snuggling and that type of thing. And that's a really great time to talk about the book, especially if this is something, if she selects this book for my husband to read and he tells me, then I can go in there and say, I heard you putting up your red flag. So let's talk about it, or let's role play a little bit, or, what would you do in this situation? And so find the time, and it might be that, if you've got younger kids at home and maybe bedtime is a little crazy, maybe nap time, or maybe right after lunch, or, pick the time that works best where you know that your kid isn't, got way too much energy, or, just pick the right time for them to be receptive, and you'll know what that looks like. The last step that we're doing is practicing it. And again, that's just as simple as, doing it. We're training our children. This isn't just like something that we're talking about. We're actually training them to respond to certain situations a certain way. And if we just tell them one time, don't let anybody touch your privates, or don't let anybody do that. If we just tell them once and it's not something that we really discuss with them, unfortunately, if that ever does come to pass, or they're ever put in that situation, they might not know what to do. And that's the whole point with this, is that, well, number one, I don't ever want her to be put in that situation. But number two, if she is, and unfortunately there's a chance that she might be, because I can't follow her around for the rest of her life, because that would make me crazy. My job is to equip her for if that does come up, where somebody tries to do something inappropriate to her or asks her to do something inappropriate. I want her to be trained to say, no, get away from me, don't touch me, this is my body, you can't do that. I want her to have the tools to say, and then come talk to an adult. So we're training our children, and that's why it's important to practice. Talk to them about it, ask them questions, role play. What would you do if this happened? What would be your first move if someone said, show me what's under your underwear? What would you do? And then have them get up and act it out. They'll think it's funny, but really you're just building this in their little minds, that if this ever does happen to them, they have something to go to. And that's the goal of all of this, is to protect our children from weirdos and predators. I hope that you guys find this useful, and I hope that if there's someone in your life that you think would benefit from it, I hope that you'll share, because I feel like this is something that we all are going to walk through as parents with children. We want to protect them. So if there's anybody you think might benefit from it, please do share. Also, if you like our video, please click like and consider being a subscriber. If you're a subscriber, you will get a fancy email that tells you when we have posted a new video, which just so happens to be every week we do a new video. We have a bunch of content, just videos about family and life and babies and all kinds of stuff. So we would love to invite you to partner with us on this journey into family that we're on right now. We have a Facebook page, and we also have a blog if you'd like to check those out. And that's it. Thanks so much for your time and for watching. Hope you guys have an amazing week, and we hope to see you again next week for our next video. Bye.